What up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for all the support. We are hitting insane numbers in terms of subscriber growth for such a small channel. We are approaching 500 or half of 1,000 subscribers as I record this right now. So thank you so much for that. We might even be there by the time you watch this video. And if you're just coming across the channel or you watch some old videos and didn't subscribe yet, this is a good time to jump on board. We talk Pokemon investing here, and I share my portfolio, including my full portfolio, and then some of my best gains, losses, lessons learned, and what I'm picking up every month. So make sure to subscribe if you like Pokemon investing. Today, as promised, when I covered the video about my best performing sealed products, I said I would do a single card version, and I told you guys the numbers would be even crazier. So if you guys recall, when I recorded that video for the sealed products, my best performing investment was 300% or 4x, and where we started around stuff that doubled and then went up to stuff that 4x'd, right? So with the single cards, the gains are so crazy that we're going to be starting with a card that tripled, more than tripled in price, or had more than a 200% gain. And then you're going to see how crazy the numbers get as we move on into the list. I titled this The Rich Get Richer because sometimes Pokemon investing in single cards, people say it's very difficult. And to be fair, we are in a bull market right now. So there could be a time where these prices drop, right? It doesn't mean they won't pick back up even stronger later on when we have another bull market after that. But I will say that so far, in my experience, single card investing has not been that difficult. And if you follow the rules we're going to be talking about here, and just the fact that the rich get richer, invest in the best cards, and that usually pays off. So let's go here. So we have top 10 working backwards to number 1. Might be a little more than 10, but I think it's top 10. We have Groudon. Here I have my entry point, what it sold for recently, and then the return. So entry point for this Groudon in PSA 10 was 145 USD. And then one of the latest sales is 439 USD. So the return is 3.03x or 203% gain on that. This is an example where I did not buy the top card in the set. And this is where, especially in Scarlet and Violet, things can get a little tricky. So yes, buy near the top. I think that's a pretty safe investment strategy most of the time. But in cases where there's this certain mania around a new Pokemon, I tend to go for the fan favorite Pokemon. So here in this set was Roaring Moon. People liked it. They liked the card. It was the number 1 card for a while in the Paradox Rift set. But I knew that it had no significance to me, Roaring Moon, and looks like it didn't have much significance for the market. But Groudon, I think we can all agree this artwork and how much we love Groudon. As you know, if you're in Gen 1, chances are you were in Gen 2, Gen 3. That's kind of where I stopped playing the games and stuff. But Groudon was there. He's one of the legendaries that I grew up with. And I just feel like I knew that I wanted this one. I knew it was a fan favorite Pokemon. And then just look at Rayquaza, by the way. Same generation, how popular Rayquaza cards are. And so I invested in a PSA 10 of this while it was in second place in the set, and it paid off big time. Sometimes things can't get much simpler. So I bought this when it was still Crown Zenith everywhere. Right now they started to pick up a bit, stuff started to sell, but guys, there's a big PSA 10 population of this, but you got Mewtwo battling Charizard. Like, how much better can a card get? I don't know. Entry point 105, about 105 USD. Last sold for 325 USD. So the return is 3.11x or 211% gain. What else can I say? You don't only have one fan favorite Pokemon from Gen 1, you have two fighting. I just had to get it, even if it went down in value. I just have to get it so much. That's how I felt, and chances are other people will feel the same way. And of course, it paid off big time. That's right, guys. That's right. I bought the most expensive card of the Sword and Shield era, and it paid off big time. Right? The rich get richer. I saw this, it was over 1,000, but even back then when I saw it, I was thinking that was a lot of money. I was just getting into investing at the time too. But it was the peak. It was the pinnacle of the cards that people wanted to get. And not only do I like it, but I wanted to have that piece of the best card from the best set. And even though the population report is big and a lot of people thought it wouldn't hold high value because of that, I still invested at over 1,000 Canadian, right? 840 USD. And now it's selling for 2,900 USD. And the return is 3.45x or 245% gain. So you don't need to get fancy with it sometimes. You don't need to go try to pick the card that no one's looking at, the card that's low, and then hope for it to jump up. You could literally buy the top card sometimes and it will go up. Now, keep in mind, right now I would be more careful simply because of the insane, some people say unprecedented level of popularity that Pokemon is experiencing right now. But this goes to show that if you give it some time, because I didn't buy Umbreon right when it came out, but if you give it some time, the winners settle in, and if you invest accordingly, it could pay off big. Here we go. The mascot of the channel, Paldea Evolved Magikarp. So I got this at the entry point of 395 USD. Last sold 1,500 USD. So the return is 3.80x or 280% gain. So what is there to say about this Magikarp? This was one of my first cases where I looked at the pop report and I was confused by how everyone was talking about all these different cards, and yet the PSA 10, this one was the most expensive of the Scarlet and Violet era cards I was looking at. So I was wondering why. Then I figured out it was very hard to grade in a PSA 10, plus it's very hard to get a specific illustration rare because there's so many in Paldea Evolved. So I used that to buy the Magikarp, assuming that it would go up in value when people realize how rare it is, how hard it is to grade in a 10. And obviously you have Shinji Kanda who did the artwork. That was a factor too. I love the Giratina. I have that card as well. And so I bought in. Lo and behold, paid off big time. 3.8x, almost 300% gain. And by the way, for the sealed products, 300% gain was my best return. Here we're at the lower half of the list and we already have almost 300% gain. But we have 300% gain next with, yes, Charizard, the chase card of 151 in PSA 10. So the entry point was 300 USD, and here we have a recent sale for 1,200 USD, so a 4x or 300% gain. Sometimes you buy a Charizard that's at the top of a popular set and it goes well. Who would have thunk it? Yes, one of the reasons that all of these have done so well, I want to stress, is because the Pokemon market is booming. It will eventually retract. I don't know when that is. It will at some point retract. There will be a depression of sorts in the Pokemon hobby, or at least significant pullback. And then I do think we'll have other highs that may well carry most of these cards to higher levels than they're seeing even now. But it goes to show long term, which is what we are on this channel, long term investors, that if you buy the best, you'll do well. You'll see, guys, some of my worst performing that I actually go over at the end of this video, some of my worst performing single card investments aren't even that bad performing, and there are easy ways to avoid the mistakes I made with those cards. So just hold, and if there is a pullback, if there is a bear market, just hold until the next bull market. It's that simple. Now we're getting into my Pokemon Center investments. I told you guys, I made a whole video that Pokemon Center PSA 10s, specifically the Charmander and Pikachu, are some of my favorite and possibly the ultimate investments of the Scarlet Violet era. Yes, we have seen a lot of gains already, but what's the title of this video, guys? The rich get richer. I would not be surprised to see these guys keep winning. Winners keep winning. That seems to be how it works. I know there are exceptions to the rule, but it really seems like a solid strategy when you look at most of these cards that gave me the most returns. And this is not, by the way, I have a bunch of cards, and some of them definitely weren't near the top of a set that I made good returns on. We're talking 200%, 250%, but I should say 2xing, 2.5xing. But I didn't put them on the list because obviously they're not the best returning. So I'm not saying buying the best is the best way, is the only way to make money, but I am saying that from what I'm seeing, this was the most expensive Pokemon Center stamped card. You could do really well by just buying the most expensive card and not waiting too long on it. So here we have the entry point, 268 USD, sold for 1,100 USD recently, which is return of 4.1x or 310% gain. If you guys remember in the video, my top returning sealed product investment was actually the Obsidian Flames Pokemon Center Elite Trainer boxes, which were 300%. So at this point, compared to where it was back then, this Charmander beat it out, but very close. So you would have been good buying the sealed product or this in PSA 10 early enough. Then we have one that wasn't at the number one spot of the set, but was top two. And especially if they're both fan favorite Pokemon, I do recommend buying top two in a set. So here we have the entry point, 233.41 USD. I bought this one for around the same price that I paid for my Charizard, shiny Charizard in Paladin Fates. And at that point, Charizard was the number one card in the set. But this one surpassed it, and then it sold for 1,000 USD recently, so that's 4.28x gain or 328% gain. I thought it was a cool artwork. It's Mew. I love Mew. I know a lot of other people love Mew, and it's a shiny one, so I think that's very interesting. I should have got the Gardevoir too. I missed that opportunity because I was focused on the first 1 and 2, and I especially like that they're Gen 1 Pokemon. But even if you got the Gardevoir, you're doing really well. So I think the main thing is that these are special illustration rares of popular Pokemon in shiny form. That makes them very unique and desirable. So I expect all three to do really well in the long run. Not that they haven't already. Guys, Gengar VMAX PSA 10 entry point 385 USD, sold for 1,700 USD, return 4.42x or 342% gain. The top card, it was the top card at the time in Fusion Strike, and it performed amazingly well despite being the top card, the most valuable card. Paladin Fates Pokemon Center stamp promo Mimikyu. Entry point, super cheap, right? This was one of the cases where Perhaps it wasn't the most desirable of the stamped cards, but I do think Mimikyu is a fan favorite Pokemon. I do think this artwork's amazing. I always thought Paladin Fates was a great set. And to top it all off, it was selling for dirt cheap. So then this was before I feel like people fully realized the potential of the Pokemon Center logo and how much it'll mean to people. So I got it in Canadian, but I transferred over to American price, 36.36, sold for 225 recently USD. So a return of 6.19x or 519% gain. And guys, you might remember this card from my ultimate investment video. Yes, Pikachu PSA 10 Paldea Evolved Pokemon Center stamp. The first one I bought for 150 USD, recently sold for 1000 USD, a return of 6.67x or 567% gain. Pikachu, right? Fan favorite Pokemon. Like I said, I do look at the pop reports. The pop report helped me realize that this one and the Charmander are, first of all, low population. And then if more people open up their Pokemon Center Elite Trainer boxes, which is not really a good thing to do because they're valuable as sealed products too. But if they do and they send it in for grading, it's also less likely to add to the population of PSA 10 because it's hard to get that PSA 10. This one I believe was around 30% chance for everyone that sent it in of getting a PSA 10, while the Charmander was even lower. So just compare that to my best sealed product investment that went up 300%. You got 567%, so almost double. That's the power of getting the right card, which I hope I've shown isn't that difficult in most cases, especially if you wait until there's a bull market versus, putting yourself in a position where you put more money than you should and that you'll need in the short term during a bull market, right? If you invested now in this Pikachu, now let's say 2 months from now, there's a retraction in the market, there's a bear market, things fall, and you need to sell, yeah, you're gonna have a bad time. What I would do is, if I was you and I bought this, if it's be in a position where you don't need to sell it, and if you can't be in that position, don't buy it, obviously. But what I will do, if this price goes back down to like under 500 USD, I'm gonna buy more. That's what I'm gonna do. And I told you guys the first one I bought was this return. I kept buying, and the most expensive I paid for this was still less than 500 USD. So my worst card, I have 5 of these. My most expensive that I paid one is already doubled. And like I said, the first one I ever got is 6.67x. But yeah, I'm going to keep buying this, guys. If I see good opportunities, if I see it at the 500 USD mark again, I'll keep buying. Biggest losses. Now, I don't want to make it look like I always pick right and I always win. Now, to be fair, I even think these will go up in the long term if I hold long enough, right? But I want to be completely transparent and show my biggest losses, which to my surprise as well, I'm surprised they're not that big. So I bought pretty high. That's one mistake. But again, it's hard to predict what's going to happen, especially in the Japanese, which is why I don't mess with Japanese anymore. I have videos about that. But let's say for this Pikachu, again, Pikachu was my best investment, Pikachu was my worst investment, but Japanese Pikachu specifically. The entry point for this Pikachu was 505 USD, and one of the latest sales is 330 USD, so that's around a 35% loss. Then we look at the Mewtwo, which honestly isn't as bad as it was previously, so it's been going up a bit. The entry point is 130 USD for me, and one of the last solds was 115 USD, so around 11.5% loss. Now, what happened here? I lost on buying the sealed product as well for this. What happened is I don't understand the Japanese market. I don't know if anyone really does, but the product, the sealed product and the singles were popping off, right? Master Balls were the coolest thing. And it seemed stable at the time at these price points that I bought in at. But, and I didn't even buy in at the highs. Like they were even higher. You could get even more burned. But they just kept printing in the Japanese to the point where even now the Japanese booster boxes are just nowhere near as expensive as they were at one point. Now, yes, in 5-10 years, I believe all of this will be in the green. But I just want to let you guys know, Japanese is a different market, different beast. I don't really mess with it anymore. When you do perform well, you usually could have performed better in the English anyways, so why get into Japanese? I just like this because it was the Master Ball and, the English one didn't have it. So not much else to say there. And then just so I'm not harping on Japanese, I did lose some in English as well, not much, but I got this Heracross PSA 10, 200 USD. One of the latest solds was 170 USD, so that's about a 15% loss. Now, what we can learn from this one is it's a low population one, and I had FOMO, right? Because there was one on the market, I bought it, and then, I didn't want to miss my chance to get it. It had a low population, and that's something you can learn. You don't need to FOMO in. Make sure you like the price point. Make sure you like the card, right? Heracross, I do think it's popular. It is an Ash. Ash did have a Heracross, if I remember correctly. And I do think, like with the Japanese, these will go up in the long term and I'll be in the green. But I definitely did FOMO because there was only one on the market and I paid the price for it. It is what it is, so I'll have to wait for that to go up again. And then the Aerodactyl, this was during the alt art boom, right? So 7% loss on this one so far. Definitely working its way back up, but during the alt art boom, I was FOMOing again. Lessons learned. I got a lot before the prices started skyrocketing, but I started worrying and that like maybe I wouldn't be able to get these cards at prices I wanted. I wanted them. I wanted a PSA 10 version of the Aerodactyl, and thus I overpaid, it dropped, and Aerodactyl is one of the slower ones to recover. Not the most popular 151 Pokemon, but still 151 Pokemon. In my opinion, still really cool 151 Pokemon. A great artwork. It's from Lost Origin. So we might not even have to wait long for this to be in the green, but it was one of the cards I FOMO'd in during the alt art boom. And so those guys are my biggest losses on cards, and in between these and the best ones, there's so many that 50% increased, 100% increased, 150% increased that I didn't show. Like I definitely did really well on the Caesar that I got PSA 10, on the Ninetales PSA 10, the list goes on my Giratina, I probably doubled that, if not more. And so my best versus worst, if you take it into account, entry point 150 USD, sold for 1000 USD. The Pally Evolved stamped Pikachu returned 6.67x or 567% gain, plus 850 USD on that purchase, versus entry point 505 USD for the Master Ball Pikachu. Latest solds for 330 USD, return around 35% loss. Lost 175 USD unrealized losses right there. So in my experience, and keep in mind we are in a bull market, it's not too hard to invest in singles. You obviously want to get in at a good price point that makes sense to you, but even if it's the highest, most expensive card in a set, you could still buy it. It could still make insane gains, like we saw with the Gengar, like we saw with the Umbreon. So the takeaway here for me is the rich get richer, buy the good cards, buy the fan favorite Pokemon. You don't have to do these crazy plays of an unknown Pokemon that you think people don't recognize its greatness yet, but one day will. Sure, maybe 1 in a million you get that right, but you could just buy the popular stuff and it'll go up over time, with the caveat that we are seeing insane market frenzy right now, although I do think it's starting to slow down with the older stuff. I know the new stuff is still hard to get, but I do think we're seeing a bit of a stagnation period. Now, if that'll lead to higher highs or if it'll lead to a retraction, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But even if you bought now some of the cards you want to get, just wait. If it falls, be in a position where you can wait it out. And during the next Pokemon bull market, that may well be crazier than this one. Because keep in mind, people were saying 2021, that level would never happen again. And now people are saying we're beyond that level. And Pokemon is also an example of the rich getting richer. Pokemon keeps getting more popular. And I think we will have crazier and crazier bull markets in the future. You just don't know when they're going to happen. You got to be patient and wait out the bear markets. But that is it for this video. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.